Hey guys, it's David from the Hexner team. And first of all, thanks a lot for participating in this webinar on Google's Android in the Enterprise program. So yeah, so I believe all are doing good. Same here too. And yeah, so in this session, we will be discussing about Google's Android in the Enterprise program and also its implementation using Hexnode MDM so that you can remotely manage your devices. So before getting into the topic, I would like to introduce myself to you guys. So myself, David Harper. So if you have already contacted Hexnode support anyhow, you might have a conversation with me, maybe through phone, sometimes through emails as well. So that's my more of a kind of introduction. So I've been in this MDM field for some time, and it's really interesting topic, as you all know. Like we are able to, remotely manage devices and can apply restrictions, control in whatever way we want. So that's kind of fun, right? So I'm gonna talk about the Android Enterprise. And before that, about the session, this session will be pretty much like a interactive session so that if any questions, anytime, just ping us on chat so that our team, like experts, will be available who will be responding to your questions. And also, this particular session will be recorded for quality analysis, and we will be sending you a video as an email once we complete the session. So that's how it's going to be. So I believe we should be getting started with the session. So yeah, so what is Android Enterprise? So it's something offered by Google that's a program that is introduced by Google that allows software like MDM to have or to apply advanced control over devices. So it provides a complete control over devices like a module-based control, or maybe to the core features or functionalities of the device, you will have advanced control over the device functionalities, as well as like applications that are pushed through the MDM. So this kind of advanced control will be enabled when you go for this Android Enterprise integration. So this is the program that is introduced by Google itself. So in order to have this integration, there are some sort of requirements that are needed to be met for like devices that are being used. So Google itself has set some standards. Based on that, they have provided a list of Android Enterprise recommended devices. So you can check this list, or you can get this list from the android.com website where they have provided the devices that are Android Enterprise recommended. So it will be very helpful for you to choose between a whole lot of device models all over the place, so that you can choose between them, which will be best fit for this Android Enterprise integration. So I will tell you about some of the minimum requirements that are needed to be there on a particular device to enable this Android Enterprise integration. So I should say that the minimum requirement starts with the device should be having Android version about 5, or it should have Play services enabled in it, and also it should support work container creation, which is the most important part of this Android Enterprise integration. So these are the minimal requirements that are needed to get started with the devices to be enrolled to Android Enterprise. So why exactly we need this integration, like Android Enterprise integration? So before getting into that, I should be telling you about the challenges we had in the past. So in this particular device management scenario, we had some challenges before introduction of this Android Enterprise integration. So it starts with unregulated levels of management of over like BYOD and copper devices. You know, the BYOD kind of setup, like bring your own device concept, is the most trending in workplaces as of now. So in that case, it was very difficult to segregate like the work data or the work apps along with the personal application. So that was a kind of difficulty or a hurdle that the enterprise has to overcome to enable such a BYOD kind of scenario on their enterprise management, and also advanced control over corporate devices. You know, like some of the MDM features will be device specific. So in order to have a unified management so that all the devices, irrespective of device model, we should be able to apply advanced restrictions to MDM. So in order to do that, this particular Android in the enterprise program or integration helps. So these challenges were there in the past before introduction of this Android enterprise. The other thing being other issue or the difficulty was manual configuration of Google accounts. That's that the Google account is very much needed to be configured on devices to enable Play services, to get apps installed from Play Store, or to have normal functioning of these devices. So before this Android Enterprise introduction, even if you manage devices through MDM, you will have to configure Google accounts manually on devices. That was a kind of inconvenience. You have to go into each and every device. You have to configure this Google account in order to have proper functioning of the device. So that was kind of inconvenience in the past, and also limited control over corporate on devices. As like I mentioned before, I mean, many or some of these features, the MDM features, are specific to device models, like device specific, like enterprise devices and normal generic Android devices. So in that case, there was limitations in applying advanced restrictions to MDM irrespective of device models. So those limitations or challenges were there prior to introduction of this Android Enterprise program. So once Google introduced this program, I should say that all these challenges have been resolved, or all these difficulties have been resolved once this particular program is there. So what it helps is like it enables creation of work profile or a work container on a device so that MDMs can have advanced control over devices. So if you take this BYOD, like bring your own device concept, in that case, when you go for the Android enterprise integration, the device will be created with a work container so that the personal data or the personal profile will be considered as a different personal container. So these two containers will be completely isolated from each other so that the data inside the corporate or the work container will be completely segregated or isolated from the personal profile. So that kind of containerization is made enabled through this Android enterprise integration. The other thing being usage of Google accounts, because just mentioned before, you have to manually configure this Google account on each and every managed device to have proper functioning. So also there was limitations like you cannot be using a single Google account for maybe hundreds of devices. There are limitations for Google accounts to be set up on many devices. So these kind of limitations has been resolved once this integration is done. Because with Android Enterprise integration, you will be selecting a Google account as a managed Google domain. And once that's done, you will be able to manage any number of devices using this particular single Google account. So you don't have to mess around with having multiple Google accounts to manage maybe hundreds of devices. So you just need to have a single Google account, integrated use it for Android enterprise integration. And once that's done, you can manage all your devices, maybe hundreds, thousands of devices using that single Google account. So that's the advantage of getting devices enrolled through this system. The other one will be complete control over corporate on devices. That is, you can have module-based functionality control, like you can have you can have control over core functionalities, maybe like factory reset, or some of those advanced kind of restrictions can be applied once you enroll devices through Android Enterprise. The other capabilities being silent installation of applications, because these features are also something that is available for some enterprise Android devices only. So if you go for Android Enterprise integration, you will be getting the capability to install applications silently. That is most importantly store applications, because if you push a store application in the normal device, which is not configured through AFW or Android Enterprise, it will be prompting the user to type in like a Google account, or like the Google credentials will be required to get the app installed. So a user intervention will be needed at the device end to get the app installed. But when we go for this Android Enterprise integration, the app installation will be silent because we will be adding this Google account, applications as managed Google applications so that it will have additional approval from the admin, and that will be installed silently on AFW or Android Enterprise configured devices. It also includes in-app configurations so that if you push an application like a store app as a managed Google app, it will you can also include app configurations along with it so that it can be pushed onto devices. So these kind of app-based management or advanced kind of management will be available when we go for this Android Enterprise integration. So now I'll tell you about how the implementation can be done using an MDM software or to Hexnode. So the first process involved in Android Enterprise integration will be enrolling your organization in the Android Enterprise program. That is, there are actually two mechanisms to do that, two methods to do that. One is you can use a normal Google account with a domain like at gmail.com, which is not a part of G Suite, so that you can use this Google account as a managed domain, and you can get your organization enrolled in Google's Android in the Enterprise program. The other method will be using your G Suite account. So if your organization have a G Suite account, you can use that G Suite integration as the Google domain, like a domain integration, to get your organization enrolled to the system, or to this particular program. So once this enrollment or your organization is registered to AFW or this Android Enterprise, you will be provided with an organization ID, which I'm highlighting right now. So this is the recognition of your organization in Google's Android in the Enterprise program. So I should say that this organization ID can be used in a case where if you want to upload or publish your enterprise application in Play Store, you can do it. You can upload or publish your application as a private app in Play Store using this organization ID, so that it will be available only for people associated with their organization. So that's the advantage or use of having this organization ID, where you can publish your enterprise app as a private app on Play Store, and that will be available only for employees within that organization. So that's how the first part is. That's what the first part for AFW integration is. So once you complete the integration part, based on the MDM use case, you can have like two kind of setup for Android Enterprise integration. One is like profile owner, which is for BYOD kind of setup, where you want to have a corporate container on a personally owned device. And the other one will be the device owner, which is like a complete control over the corporate devices. It is mainly used in the case of devices that are owned by the company itself. So these are the two kind of setup you can have through Android Enterprise integration, and that's done based on the use cases. So I will tell you first about the profile owner kind of setup. So as mentioned before, it is mostly used for BYOD, or it is specifically for BYOD kind of setup, where people will be bringing their own personal device to workplace, and it will be used for work purposes. So what happens is, once the enrollment is complete, there will be a work profile that is created on the device, which will be isolating the personal data from the work data. So that's how it is. So how the enrollment works is like, you can go into the Play Store, you can download Hexnode for Work application, and once you use the enrollment credentials to get the device enrolled, the work container will be created on the device, which will be completely isolated from the personal data on the device. So you can say like, if you push an application through MDM, it will be considered as a managed application, and it will be associated with this particular work container. Along with the application, you can push data, or all these applications and data, everything will be considered as managed, so that it cannot be opened or accessed through an unmanaged application. That is something which is available outside this work container. So that's the containerization, or that's how the containerization works. And also, since this Android Enterprise integration strictly demands device encryption, the data will be completely protected. It will be encrypted, so that the data protection will be there. And also, with this profile owner kind of setup, the administrator of the MDM will have an option to protect the corporate data by creating a passcode, like a container passcode, that will deny unauthorized access to work profiles. So once he sets up passcode for the work profile, the user should be using that passcode to access that work container so that he can access the work applications and documents inside that. Otherwise, it is not possible to open up the applications or documents which are associated with the work container. And also, there are mechanisms in Hexnode that will allow you to delete, automatically delete this work container based on inactivity. That is, if the device goes offline or if it's stolen, if the device is not reporting to the MDM server based on inactivity that we can set, like in days, or like say if you set like 3 days, and if the device is not reporting, and the device will be marked as inactive, and it will automatically delete the work container from the device so that the data will be always protected. So those kind of advanced data protection mechanism will be available for profile owner kind of setup. And also selective wipe, that is, you can wipe the data available inside the work profile only. So if you go for a corporate wipe from the MDM system, what it does is it will be wiping the data inside the work profile, keeping the personal profile completely untouched. So if you go for a wipe, it just wipes away the work profile. Nothing will be affected in the personal profile, because always the personal profile will be completely managed by the user itself, and the admin doesn't have any control over the personal profile on the device. So he can password protect the entire device. The admin will not be having the access to that particular cases. Like, he will not be able to change or make any modifications on the device passcode, but he will be able to manage or control the data or things inside the work container. That's it. That's how the containerization work when it comes to profile owner kind of setup. And the second one, or the second method of getting devices enrolled, will be Android Enterprise Device Owner Setup. So which is more of a kind of advanced control over the entire device. So this is mostly applicable in the case of devices that are corporate owned, so that the device will be making the MDM as the device owner so that it will have advanced control and privileges over device functionality. So because most of these functionalities like core features will be accessible for the MDM so that it can restrict core functionalities and features on those devices. So in order to do that, you can enroll devices as device owner, and that's how you can get complete control over device. So how does enrollment should be done? So in order to do a device owner configuration, it has to be done from the scratch of the device. So we will be setting up device owner on the device from scratch. So if it's like a out-of-box device, like a new device, you just need to turn it on, and based on the Android version of the device, you have different mechanisms to get it enrolled as AFW or Android Enterprise device owner. So say about Android devices with Android version 7 and above, you can use this QR code which is available on this admin portal. So what it is like, once the device turns on the first screen itself, you can tap the screen 7 times so that it will bring up a QR code reader, and you can read this QR code to get the device enrolled to MDM system, and the device will be enrolled as AFW or Android Enterprise Device Owner. But if it's Android 6 and above, you can also, like Android 6 version, you can also try a different mechanism. That is, get the device turned on, and on the regular setup process, the initial setup process, when it asks for the Google account, type in this keyword, which is AFW #Hexnode MDM. So once you do that, it will be connecting the MDM server, and we will be installing the MDM server, will be installing the client like Hexnode for Work application, and that will get the device enrolled to the system. So these two mechanisms can be used, like for Android 6 and up 6 devices, you can go for this keyword AFW #Hexnode MDM. Or if it's Android 7 and above, you can use this QR code to get devices enrolled. And we also support like zero-touch enrollment mechanisms, so that you can use that zero-touch enrollment processes to like get the devices enrolled as device owner. So if you're going for Google's zero-touch enrollment process, just make sure that the devices are supporting the zero-touch enrollment, And once that's available, you can just upload the Hexnode for Work APK on your Zero Touch enrollment portal, and you can map the devices to the MDM server. So once that's done, you just need to turn on the device. It will be getting the device enrolled, and it will be enrolling the device as device owner. And the other Zero Touch enrollment for Samsung devices like Samsung Knox enrollment, which is a kind of Zero Touch enrollment. So we also integrate with that so that you can get the device enrolled as device owner. So in that case, you just need to log into your Samsung Knox portal, and you have an option to upload our Hexnode for Work APK there, and map the devices using the serial numbers and just turn on the device. This will get the device enrolled to the system, and it will be configured as Android Enterprise device owner. So once this setup is complete, you will have advanced kind of restrictions, like most of the MDM features will be available like core features. So I will take you into some of the features. So I should say that the core or advanced functionalities will be like you can like restrict the factory reset on the device so that you can deny them from doing a factory reset, or going into maybe like a safe mode to maybe do the factory reset or things like that. You can disable them from modifying user accounts or adding new user accounts. So these kind of advanced features will be available when you go for Android Enterprise integration. So also there is something like factory reset protection. That's something you can enable. Then application installation, uninstallation, app control, all these kind of things will be available when you go for Android Enterprise integration. So I'll tell you more about the factory reset protection, which is a feature available for Android 5 and 5.1 and above devices. It's like when you're logged into a system or device using a Google account, and when you do a factory reset, the Android operating system will, it will be, when it comes back on, you won't be able to set it up as a new device because it will be demanding you to uh, enroll or to sign in using the previous logged in Google account. So that's the factory reset protection feature that is provided by Google. So if you get the devices enrolled through Android Enterprise, you will have options to bypass this process or also to disable this factory reset. So the the use case is like if it's a company owned or corporate owned device, and if an employee leaves the company, leaving their Google account on the device, and if you want to set it up as a new device, you doesn't need that Google account to be logged in again to set it as a new device. Instead, you can bypass the factory reset using this particular feature, or you can completely disable the factory reset so that even if the employee leaves the company keeping their Google account on the device, you just need to do the factory reset. That's that. It will be actually getting the device set up as a new one. So that's how the factory reset protection bypassing or mechanism works when you enroll devices to Android Enterprise. So the other feature will be like more of a kind of control over the UI features, device UI feature. So it is called lock task mode, and that's available for devices that are configured through Android Enterprise. So once you enable this lock task mode, you can actually have control over system UI functionalities. Like you can disable or enable system information. You can disable maybe software buttons like home button, or maybe notification, and then resend app buttons or global actions. So these kind of things can be restricted or controlled once you enroll devices through Android Enterprise mechanism. So these kind of module-based UI restrictions will be also available when you go for Android Enterprise device owner setup. So that's pretty much about the device functionality level mechanism or control once you enroll devices through Android Enterprise. Then the other one will be app-based management process, because in the normal scenario, you won't be getting much control over applications that are pushed or installed on devices. But if you go for Android Enterprise integration, you will be having, or you will be able to install applications as managed Google apps. Like if they are store apps, normal scenario, in a normal scenario, you will have to have the Google credentials to get the apps installed on the devices. But if it's an Android Enterprise integration, You just need to add these applications like Google applications or Play Store applications as managed Google apps, and you will be able to push it silently to any number of devices. So that's how the installation works. And also, by default, if you go for Android Enterprise Device Owner setup, the Play Store will not be available for the user, so that the Hex node actually has an ability or a mechanism or a feature like a store layout where you can customize a store layout for the Play Store or for the user, which is like a customized Play Store, so that the administrator can add any number of applications to that store layout, and it can push it to devices, so that inside the Play Store on the device, they will be made available with these set of applications only. So this is like a customized Play Store, so that when they open up the Play Store on the device, they will be having access to these set of applications. They can download from that list and can be installed on the device to use it. So that kind of customized Play Store options will be available when you go for this Android Enterprise integration. The other thing being publishing your application, like enterprise application, as private application, so that it will be available for employees that are within the organization. That's it. So that's the more of a kind of app-based control. Then also in-app configurations can be pushed to devices, because in the case of devices that are configured not through Android Enterprise, you will not be able to push app configurations. But if you go for this Android Enterprise integration, you can push in-app configurations. So let me just tell you a scenario where most of the time when you want to push emails onto devices, first of all, these email configurations through MDM will be supported on Samsung devices, because they have the Knox capability, which is an inbuilt MDM. So in Samsung devices, you can actually configure email through MDM. You can configure the email settings and can push it to devices, so that it will be configured on their Samsung native email client. But for other non-Samsung devices, it was not possible to push this email configuration. But if you go for this Android Enterprise integration, you have the option to push app configurations, including this email setup. Say if you want to push Outlook application to device and you want to configure your corporate email on Outlook application. So what you can do is you can upload or push this Outlook application as a managed Google app, and you can push it to devices, and along with that you can push in-app configuration, so that the email will be configured on this Outlook application, so that the user just need to type in their passcode to populate the email. So those kind of in-app configurations will be supported when you enroll devices through device owner setup or Android Enterprise setup. So one thing you need to make sure is the app that is pushed should support app configuration, so that it can be pushed as an XML file. The app configurations can be pushed as an XML file, and it will be pushing those configurations onto applications. So that's the app configuration. Then also you can remotely regulate app permissions onto devices. Like if you want to regulate the app permissions, like if you want to grant permissions, you can do that remotely, so that it will be applied onto devices. Like location permission or other in-app permissions can be granted remotely through MDM system, through Xnode. So that's how the app configurations and app permissions work in the case of app management feature. The other being managing OS updates, so that if you configure devices through this Android Enterprise mechanism, you will have the ability to restrict or maybe to manage operating system updates on the devices. So you will have options to actually regulate how exactly the OS update should work. Like you have the option to maybe postpone the update or update based on certain time, like automatically updating it, or based on the default value, how the settings is done on the device itself, or you can do it based on the inactive hours. So these kind of managing or management of OS updates will be also available once you go for Android Enterprise integration. So these are pretty much the advanced control or advanced mechanisms you can have once you go for this particular Android Enterprise integration. So that's pretty much that, I should say. regarding, like, this is like an overview, like how exactly it's going to be when you go for this Android enterprise integration. So I think most of the features and most of the functionalities has been covered in the session. So if you got any questions based on this, just write us on the Q&A session available at the bottom so that we can respond to your questions. So feel free to ask, guys. So our team is actually waiting for your questions. So that if any questions based on this, just let us know. The expert team will be responding to your particular questions. Yep. So we're actually getting some of questions from all over the world. So one of the trending question being, can IT admin unlock devices that are in work profile? So I should say that it's not possible because in the case of profile owner kind of setup, where the administrator of the MDM will have control only over the corporate or the work container. So he will be able to manage passcode protection on work container, but he will not be able to control the entire device. Like the device passcode is something for the entire device, and the IT or the particular uh, MDM admin or MDM system will not be able to take over that particular feature. So the device passcode cannot be configured or controlled by the MDM system when it's a profile on a kind of setup. They will be able to apply restrictions on the work container. That's that. They can configure passcode for the work container. They can actually password and make it password protected for the work container alone, not the entire device. That's how it is going to be. So guys, you can go for other questions so that maybe through the chat, or maybe I'll be discussing more about the questions. Yep, so we have another question like, can work profile only be administrator in devices listed on Android Enterprise recommended? Yeah, so just like you mentioned before, so the Android Enterprise recommended is a list of devices that are provided by Google. It is those devices that are mostly recommended by Google for this Android Enterprise integration. But there are other devices too that you can use for creation of this work container. So the minimal requirement uh, for making a device eligible for Android enterprise integrations will be like, the Android version should be Android 5 and above. And the device should have a Play service like Google Play service available, like Google Play Store will be available. And also, it should be supporting work container creation. So if you can meet these three requirements, it should be eligible for Android enterprise integration. So it's basically, it should be Android 5 and above, and it should have a Play service installed on it. And that should do it. That should be enough for you. But the Android enterprise recommended device list is something provided by Google. That's more of a kind of recommendation. Like these devices will be perfect fit. That's what they recommend. those are high recommendations for device list. That's it. But you can go for other devices too that supports Play services, and also which are Android 5 and above. That's how it's going to be. Yep. So seems like that's pretty much that for today. And we really, really appreciate you taking effort and time to attend this session. So if you missed some questions, we will be responding to you through an email or so that you will be getting answers for all your questions. Our team will be working on this, and we will be sending you email, and we will be responding with answers for all your questions. And once again, thanks a lot for you on all of you guys, and yeah, have a great day ahead.